I was originally going to do this part wearing my favorite hoodie, but it is like 80 degrees in here, and the air conditioning's in the other part of the apartment, so that's not going to happen. Anyway, something you should know about me is that I love lyricism. I love the art of taking a limited number of words and shoving them into a rhyme scheme and shoving them into a rhythm and doing that in order to tell a story in a musical way, evoking emotions in a way that simple prose just can't sometimes. And one of the reasons I love Disney movies is because I think they have a strong line of great lyricists. Ashman, Schwartz, Sipel, Slater, Anderson Lopez. These are all people with excellent control of the English language that know how to tell a story and evoke emotions through lyrics. I know that at his best, Lin-Manuel Miranda is up there. But Wild Uncharted Waters, not his finest moment. Adding a new song to The Little Mermaid must feel like an extremely daunting task. You're taking a musical soundtrack that was basically flawless and adding things to it. Even Lin-Manuel Miranda himself expressed that he would, quote, definitely fall short of the task. Still, I know he can make pretty good lyrics when he wants to. His work on live-action Little Mermaid feels underwhelming, even with that background. I think saying that something was written in half an hour is an ineffective criticism. Royals by Lorde was written in half an hour, but lyrically, Wild Uncharted Waters truly feels like it was written with a simple prompt and little thought beyond that. This song feels like a first draft for a better song. I don't want to say it's terrible, because compared to the Scuttlebutt, it's a masterpiece, but it also feels lackluster compared to other songs from the original soundtrack. The song starts with Ariel's siren song being played over strings and a guitar, which is not a typical instrument of either Menken or this movie. The opening lines are fine as they are. In particular, I like the 7th chord Menken used to finish off the stanza. It adds some depth and mystique to the instrumentation. This invokes a kind of sorrow to the chord progression.
Freedom from the life I always knew.
The next line is where I start to have problems with the lyrics.
Now all I am is haunted.
Now all I am is haunted is oddly worded in order to force a certain number of syllables to match the rhythm, which feels awkward when read. Wanted and haunted is also a pretty stock rhyme. Not that stock rhymes are inherently bad, but this one is noticeable.
As days and hours roll by.
This is also clunky. I've noticed that usually when mentioning passage of time like that, the smaller unit comes first, so hours and days would sound more natural. The word hours is also rushed here because it's one syllable too many for the rhythm. The stanza as a whole simply doesn't know what it wants to be about. Eric starts by expressing his desire for adventure and freedom.
All I ever wanted was the open sea and sky.
But then switches over to singing about Ariel.
All I ever think about is you.
These two concepts aren't connected. The use of the word now suggests a clause like the word but or however, but that doesn't make any sense. Eric can both yearn for adventure and be haunted by Ariel. Meeting Ariel was literally a direct consequence of his love of adventure, so why are these treated like two mutually exclusive things in this stanza? On the pre-chorus, I like the glockenspiel that comes in. It adds a level of dreaminess.
There you are, over me, taking me with yours.
I have to say, this song starts pretty softly with more delicate instrumentation than the remixes used for the old songs, which I find interesting. Of course, the chorus reveals one major problem in this song.
I'm still lost at sea.
I don't think Jonah Hauer-King is the best singer here. He doesn't enunciate well and seems to struggle hitting the high notes. He has to really project for them, which goes against the soft dreaminess of the instrumentation.
I was darkness bound, I had almost drowned.
I was darkness bound feels like another forced phrase for rhyming's sake. I assume it's supposed to refer to Eric almost dying, but the following phrase is I had almost drowned, which creates a redundancy.
Till you came around and you found me.
Till you came around and you found me is also a redundancy. Redundancies can hurt the flow of the song and take away opportunities for more thoughtful lyrics. They make songs feel one-dimensional. How did Eric feel at this moment? Is there more to it? A great lyricist can tease a lot of meaning out of single lines, so wasting even 1 or 2 lines can be big. In this chorus, Lin also rhymed "see" with "me" twice.
Miles beyond the sea, till you came around and you found me. But I'm still lost at sea. Just come find me.
This makes the stanza feel repetitive and not in a poetic way. Repetition could be used with great effect, but in this case, it feels uninspired. Again, I have to say I like the instrumentals. The swell after the chorus isn't overbearing, it's just the right level to transition into the next part of the song. The strings in the second verse are used to start building up a rhythm that will allow the song to explode later on if it wants to. In particular, I like this flourish here.
In my mind, your melody goes on.
However, the lyrics fall short once again. There's more problems with redundancy. In my mind, your melody goes on is redundant to all I do is wonder who you are. They both establish that Eric can't get Ariel out of his mind. The flow of the sentences is also broken up in a weird way.
My mind, your melody goes on. Stronger than the undertow, the night you rescued me.
Stronger than the undertow is the end of the first sentence, but the start of the second phrase of the stanza. This makes it sound like the sentiment of the second phrase is, the night you rescued me, you were stronger than the undertow, which doesn't really make any sense. It makes more sense to assume Ariel's melody is strong in his head. Of course, if you assume this, it makes the next two lines feel like a sentence fragment.
The night you rescued me, silhouetted by the rising dawn.
That's a major error. It's an incomplete thought and fails to build off its own imagery. That's a mistake I'd never expect in something as professional as a Disney production, but here we are. Anyway, the second chorus comes in strong, and it feels natural thanks to Menken's instrumentation. The use of guitar in particular resonated with me because it made each chord feel that much more prominent. I just wish it wasn't so buried in the mix.
Wild uncharted waters, beyond where man can see.
I also like the piano arpeggios that add some depth to the mix by creating that high register the strings can't quite reach.
Your eyes outshine the horizon line, and you're finally real here.
The lyrics unfortunately still have issues. I don't like the line, when your eyes outshine the horizon line, because that just doesn't make that much sense to me. The horizon line is usually pretty dull unless the sun is right on it. In that case, though, her eyes would outshine the sun. It feels like another forced rhyme, especially when Lin has to slant the next two rhymes.
And you're finally real here beside me.
Then, the song rhymes me with me. I'm not joking.
Right where you left me, siren that guides me to.
I could understand it when Lin rhymed island with island, but this is too much. It's one of the easiest rhyme words out there. Then, of course, there's a key change, because why not?
That guides me to wild uncharted water.
And guess what? Lin rhymes me with me again.
Oh, just you and me. There's no map or compass to guide me. No.
He also gave up on the double rhymes. He rhymes there with air, but doesn't use another double barrel rhyme in the next line like he did previously.
And I hope you're there in the open air. There's no map or compass.
There's more redundancy between the lines, a siren that guides me, and there's no map or compass to guide me. The former line already establishes that it's the voice that guides him. There's no need to establish again that he doesn't need traditional navigation tools. Then, Lin seems to give up completely. He rhymes me with me one final time, and then nothing else in that stanza rhymes, unless you want to count again with again.
But time will not change me. Waters can't find me.
I know it feels like I'm being pedantic about rhymes when they're not the be-all end-all, but in musical numbers, rhymes are crucial, especially in Ashman's work. They provide a rhythm and flow to the lyrics. So when you put a song next to Ashman's work and it's void of that tight writing, it feels out of place. Lin is a big fan of shoving rhymes everywhere, even where they shouldn't be, so it's not even his style to do this. Lyrically, this song is completely out of place on the soundtrack next to all the sharp rhymes of the original musical numbers. It makes it all feel like Lin was given 2 days to write this song. Alan Menken's instrumentation is great, but to me, it's not enough to distract from the lyrics. This all being said, I could definitely see how this song would evoke emotions. As usual, Menken has found a captivating melody and put it to delicate instrumentation. The general sentiment of the song is nice too. It's a simpler concept, and one that's not elaborated on at all, but it's a nice sentiment nonetheless. But it still leaves me wondering what the point of this song is. Does this I Want song even know what it wants? Prince Eric never needed to have an arc or a personality or to be a foil to Ariel. Ariel is the one making the decisions and sacrifices in the story. She's the one driving the plot. Eric is just there as a goal for Ariel. Giving him an arc, even half of one, feels more like an excuse to pad the runtime. After all, the original movie was only 83 minutes long, and that doesn't count as real cinema anymore, I guess. So they had to come up with something to make the film longer. They gave Eric an I Want song and a little story of its own. Whether you think it was a good or bad decision is up to you, but in my opinion, there was just no point to this. That aside, what do I think of the song overall? Well, it's certainly pretty, but it has some of the least inspired lyrics I've ever heard in a Disney movie. They're dull and lazy, and they just don't tell a story the way they should. I know Lin-Manuel can do better. What did you think of the song? Whether you liked it or you didn't, leave a comment down below. Until next time, take care of yourself and have a great day.